Poor people.
We are the great unwashed.
The highest good is like water. Water gives life to the 10,000 things and does not strive. It flows in places people reject, and so is like the Tao. Tao Te Ching. And with that, I'd like to introduce my guest for this week, Bale Creek Allen. There's a little...
Watch out for the electronics.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I pour wine. Did I get it? Did I hit a drop?
No, you're good.
Did I get it?
I think so.
I don't think I did. All right. Well, this I just poured our guests some Casamigos Mezcal. I hadn't seen this one. They said you were a tequila guy, so I was like, he's
don't
probably
tell
gonna like
anyone.
This. Probably gonna like this.
Oops.
The word's out. He's a tequila guy. All right.
It's like water.
Yeah.
Not this though. It's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. It's in a little clay bottle. Pretty great.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's pretty good mezcal. I recommend it.
Yeah.
Maybe you should get some sponsorship
We're trying to
money
get
on
some
those guys
sponsors.
because it is good.
Just send us free mezcal, dude. What's up? So what do you do?
What do I do? Well, I'm an artist, first and foremost. For lack of a better term, more of a visual artist. I draw, I paint. I've done prints before. I make photographs. I've done videos. I cast bronze. I make neon. Do found object assemblage pieces. Then kind of I've always had a drum set. I've always been around music and art and the arts in general. So I play drums. I've been in bands where I've been the front man. I write my own songs.
Yeah.
And then I've done theater things before. Like my family, when we were younger, we wrote a play called Do You Know What Your Children Are Tonight? And we did it when we were in high school, and the characters were mom, dad, boy one, and boy two.
Yeah.
And we just all got together in a Theater Ep2 in San Francisco in like 1984. We all threw our shit in a pile and just kind of, my dad was the ringleader, and he kind of formulated a script out of all our unique gifts and whatever we brought to the collaborative table. And we created this wacky performance art play.
That's
and
great.
then we did it in Washington at the Washington Project for the Arts in D.C. And that was it was amazing. And like, so what I do is
Where was this again?
that was in Washington, D.C. at the WPA, which is a really great art center. I've been so blessed to have creative parents, and like my whole family from the get-go, I've been surrounded by amazing, talented, creative people and good people.
Yeah.
Beautiful humans that anyone would love to be around. Anyone in the right state of mind, or maybe even wrong state of mind. But
Maybe that's why you laugh so much.
I mean, yeah, I am. I'm
because you're truly happy.
in general, I am. I feel.
What is that like?
I feel that lucky.
Oh my God.
It's kind of annoying.
Hell no, dude. I want to hang out with you every day, bro.
Dude, but I'm just saying, when a lot of artists, I think you either come from that thing or the complete opposite. It's usually like artists don't usually kind of fall in the middle somehow. You know what I mean? It's like most of the artists I know, either their parents were totally behind it and supported it, or they weren't into it at all.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Mine were totally personified supportive, but they were supportive parents.
Yeah.
So they didn't give a shit if I was a banker. I did an interview once, some beatnik pirate radio show in Berkeley, California, when we did that play in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, I can't remember the exact question, but my response is, even if I was just a cold-blooded murderer and in prison, my mom and dad would still love me.
That's it.
Period.
And that's,
For whatever reason, that
Because
that happened, but they're
good
that
parents.
loving, So
Good parents. That's called unconditional love,
yeah,
my friend.
it's unconditional love, and I think that has carried me through my entire life and given me the confidence. It's like that, I don't know. There's probably all kinds of like Freudian things, but like the idea of being close to your family gives you the security to go on the other side of the world by yourself. And look, I mean, I have shit I have to deal with all the time. I'm an artist, man. I have to, my whole life is like, I visualize it like just in terms of being a self-employed artist. A lot of times I think of myself as unemployed. I mean, who pays me? I pay myself. It's like I'm unemployed or self-employed. But, and so I feel
You're
like
employed. Let's just say you're employed.
I mean, somehow miraculously, I've been able to make a living doing this thing that I do. And it's mind-boggling. And I always think, man, it's like no matter how far I get ahead, there's always like the second that hit is over, it's ground zero again. And you're like trying to figure it out and hoping and desperate. It's like this cycle of desperation to stay ahead.
Yeah.
So it feels like I have like a dragon breathing down my ass always.
Yeah.
And I have moments of like reprieve, and then I just ramp it up again.
Right
so
back
there's
into it.
like these crazy emotional roller coaster cycles that go on, and they're not always happy.
Yeah.
And they can affect certain aspects of your life as well. But it's like, man, I never aspired. Like when I was a kid, did I aspire to be a banker? Did I aspire to be a financial guy? Did I aspire? No, hell no. I dreamed of being an actor or a rock and roll star or a visual artist or something like that. That's what or an athlete.
You said struggling to get ahead. Ahead of what, first off? And what happens when you get there?
Well, for me, and
where is there?
I would say there in reverse is where I'm at now. The fact that I'm able to go to my studio, make whatever I want with 100% integrity for the sake of the work, and somehow magically survive by doing that. Yeah. So
you say there's a little bit of faith in that?
Absolute. That's one of the strongest words in my vocabulary in terms of the intangible. You just have to believe that it's going to happen. And I think you have to manifest that too.
Absolutely.
You have to put things in play. I mean, but for me, it came from just this beautiful fantasy childhood. And then the reality of, okay, now I'm out of high school. Now I'm living in LA and I'm bussing tables 7 days a week and I'm paying my rent and it's getting real in here.
Yeah.
And I drew pictures and everything. And the whole time I'm like, okay, something's got to give. I'm going on auditions. I'm doing these things. I'm doing like what any dreamer would do, at that age and in that town, Yeah. And at a certain point, I'm just like, something's got to change. And what changed at that incremental time was I just decided, all right, I'm going to go to art school. I kind of floated around for a year. By default, I was gonna originally work as an apprentice for a guy named Boyd Wright, who was a great artist who lived in Ojai, California, and he died like 5 months before I graduated high school. He had a heart attack and died.
Wow.
And so I kind of abandoned my college plans and everything. And then I didn't have a plan when he died.
You were kind of crushed by that a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So then I moved to LA with $70 and my mom and dad were gone. And I got in a car with Dino Orlando, this small time like music promoter and shyster.
All right.
And he called me the snake. A little bit of a miser. He called me the snake.
Yeah.
And so I hopped in his car and told my mom and dad I'm moving to LA. And within the first week, I had moved like 4 times. It was a nightmare. And all I had was a bicycle. I had a freaking bike.
Yeah.
And while simultaneously holding down a busboy job at Stratton's in Westwood,
Yeah. You didn't have much to move. I mean, you can look on the bright side of that.
Yeah. Well, even if you have 2 boxes, too many to carry on a bike, you have to call someone and get a ride, you know? But anyway, that was like this crazy adventure. But the pivot there was that I took the initiative to just do something different. And my dream wasn't working out how I thought it would. And all I did was draw. That's the one thing I've done since I was a little kid. And I'd be just drawing and shit. And I thought I would probably want to go to art school. I just wasn't sure how to go about it or what I was doing at that time. And, I thought my dad went to Chouinard, which became Cal Arts, which Disney founded like back in the day. And all these incredible West Coast artists went there. A lot of those people who I grew up with and have shown in my gallery. So that idea of kind of like go to your dad's, like go where he, kind of follow those steps, But the idea of staying in California didn't appeal to me because I had already kind of done that long enough. So my brother was at Berklee College of Music in Boston, and he's like, man, there's a killer school out here. You should come check it out. And right like at that moment, I was thinking of doing something drastic. And I was like, you know what? I'm moving to Boston anyway.
Yeah.
I'm coming. And I'm going to apply to school simultaneously.
Yeah.
And so I put all my shit in Greyhound, all of my portfolio, which was original drawings and poems and everything, all my clothes, none of it showed up.
Oh, no.
So I get to Boston and none of my...
Just the clothes on your back.
Literally. That was it.
Holy
That
moly.
was it, man. And so that's one
wild,
lesson. Never use Greyhound as a packing or a shipping company, dude.
They figured you out, dude.
Don't use Greyhound or Trailways, man. They will screw you over, man. I bet Amtrak's a little better, but not much.
Hey.
Same deal.
I love Amtrak, dude.
Yeah,
the Texas Eagle, man.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. Dude, that is wild. So you show up to Boston.
So I show up to Boston, and the one consistent was I still was having to, make a living.
Yeah.
And so I was a waiter.
Yeah.
I mean, up to that point, I was just a busboy. And even in Boston, I got a job at the Copley Marriott, and I worked 7 days a week. And I had a nice-ass place, and I paid for it because I had my own cash supply, you know?
Yeah.
People are like, dude, man, this is a sweet place. And I was like, hell yeah, it is. And I just kind of like...
That's the thing about hotel work is it's always there, dude. Like, it is consistent and it is decent money.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can put yourself up in a nice place if you're...
Well, I had
grinding.
benefit working for corporate America. I worked for Marriott, and I literally got all my dental work done, and it was like, so it was kind of a good gig. And then later on, they're like, for life, anytime you need a job, any Marriott, let us know. And I'm like, man, that's kind of cool. But
hey, Marriott, reach out and listen. Let us know you're listening to the podcast. This guy's plugging you guys for free. So.
But I think the pivot...
Marriott Boston. Visit scenic Boston.
In Copley Square of Yacht. Chata.
You got to throw it out there.
God,
you got to say that.
Boston was great.
You even said, oh, God, like a Bostoner.
It was funny. When I was in Boston, people were like, are you from New York? I'm like, what? And then I go to the fast food. Are you a girl? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'll get your Taco Bell. I'm like, excuse me.
So
I'm a man.
So what you were?
Hey, man. It's funny, man.
Where did that rasp come from then?
Oh, God.
Yeah, is that?
I was born with it. My brother doesn't have it. I don't know. It's missing part of my vocal cord, I guess.
Well, you were frontman for a band. How did that work out? You just added to your style, I guess, right?
When I was young, we had a couple neighborhood bands, and they were punk rock. I mean, we're talking early '80s, personified.
Yes.
Fresno, California was the epicenter for West Coast punk.
Bro.
Period. I mean, if you were a touring band in L.A., San Francisco, San Jose, Modesto, anywhere, if you toured, maybe it was 1 or 2 gigs, you always stopped in Fresno.
Hell yeah.
So we'd see these epic shows where you'd pay $8 and see 15 bands.
Badass.
Like the biggest punk bands to this day,
That's awesome.
And it was a fun childhood. It was just such a free, fun, unbelievable childhood. I think our whole generation is the last generation. I mean, I was born in 1968. I graduated high school in 87.
Oh, yeah. I was born in 85. How crazy is that?
Yeah, man.
But dude, I feel like we had a pretty free childhood. Like we did a lot of crazy shit.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in South Texas, far South Texas, like near Corpus Christi.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is also depends on where.
Yeah.
Kind of like geographically, like Fresno was flat.
Yeah.
And even in this day and age, I have friends that still live there and raise their kids there, and they're still cruising around on their bikes and shit. Like their BMX bikes. But like living in Austin 30 years, and I raised my kids there. Their schools don't even have bike racks. I mean, they're like in the hill country, and so they miss out on that whole thing. Like in kindergarten, my mom would drive me. I rode 3.5 miles to go to my elementary school, and I'm 5 years old.
Hell yeah.
And my mom drives me the day before school and shows me the stop signs and the light and the route.
Yeah.
Got it. Good. Next day, boom, you're off. And man, it's like
That's
freedom.
amazing. That's amazing.
I mean, one of my best friends who I met in kindergarten, this guy, Pat Connor, he's like the king of San Joaquin Valley real estate.
Yeah.
He's like the dude in American Beauty, I swear. We call him Tasselhoff.
Nice.
He wears tassels and shaves his legs.
Shout out Tasselhoff.
Shout out to Tasselhoff. But this guy, I remember like in slow motion, he rounded the corner on his black and white Schwinn Scrambler, man. It was the most badass thing. And I was an Oakland Raider fan, personified. I still am. Well, what? Oakland, LA. I'm an Oakland Raider fan from the 70s.
Yeah.
But it was like he came around the corner, and that was part of our identity. Like there's that culture of like when you were kids in Fresno, your bike was like your ride, And so we'd polish them and put components on them and work and save
Pegs
and fix them up.
And all kinds of cool stuff.
You'd take your girlfriend to the movies, on the handlebars.
Mm-hmm.
We got our asses kicked going to school. We had to fend for ourselves. People would destroy your locker, steal your school bag. I mean, we got screwed over so many times, and it gave us this certain, like, moxie, man.
Yeah.
To either you fight back or you just get pummeled the whole year,
Yep.
And so, I mean, my dad was like, don't change your route for anyone. Yeah. And I I didn't. And I paid the price for it, but I kept riding.
Hell yeah.
Until the guy just got sick of it,
Yeah.
He got sick of beating me down, and I was like, I gained a little I'm like, wait, that didn't hurt that bad, man.
Yeah.
You'd have to hit me 3 times now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hit back.
Yeah, exactly. I'm learning your moves, dude.
But that, there's something about how I grew up that is just, I feel like with technology and everything, that I'm literally the cutoff point. Because, like, computers and all that. I saw the first computer in a math class. We had 2 computers when I was a sophomore, and that was it. We didn't have cell phones or any of that, obviously. And, we had different skills, and it was more fun, man. Dude, I mean, my kids, it's like, I remember telling my kid to go to the neighbor's house and knock on the door after school. Just go over there. And he knocked on the door. And the parents looked at him like he was crazy. Yeah. He's like, yeah, Johnny's here, but you don't have a play date. I'm like, play date?
Play date.
So play date thing and all that. It's
I got 2 kids now. But they're 5. Yeah, but they're 5 and almost 6 and almost 2. So, I mean, dude, I don't even know how to. I know this. I know comedy. I don't know how to deal with like other parents. This is gonna be weird.
Well, it is an interesting thing, and it's like, I mean, when I say kind of the way I live my life is why I gravitated to be an artist. It's like it's kind of like one parallel thing, like my values and the way I think about things, but society has forced us to do things differently, whether we approve of them or not. Because if you don't participate by the way the system is in place, then you'll get left behind. And the system, through the powers that be, it's a lot stronger force now than it was back in the day, where you could, pick and choose what you wanted your kids to participate in or not.
Absolutely. I think this is a good place to segue into, we'll go back to the, life story stuff, but I think this is a good place to segue into the photography with the schools and...
yeah. That was a body of work I just finished called My America.
Yeah.
And I literally just had this idea about patriotism, like thinking, look, man, I've lived this amazing life. I haven't been in a war. I mean, timing's everything, right? But it's like, I am a patriot. It's like, I feel really lucky to be raised the way I was, have the freedoms I have, and this incredible life. So I'm thankful, you know? And so in thinking about that and all these political situations that have been so heated, you know, it's like
insane.
It's insane. It's out of control. And, man, it's just extreme. It's absolute extremism. And again, I think it's the sign of the times. I think it's like with all the technology, if you can't, one simple fundamental thing that's going to screw us all up is the fact that we can't agree on the truth. You know, when I was a kid, there were 4 channels, and they all told the same fucking story on the news.
I remember when the news could the news was quoted in history books. What are they going to quote now, dude? I don't even know. My son's about to be in school, like kindergarten, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going to be in these history books. I'm going to have to teach him.
We were just talking about AI, and it freaks me out because it's like so-and-so has their name on this thing, and they didn't even write it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the history books are kind of like, you know, so you gotta. It's good to question things.
Absolutely.
If you have a feeling that things need to be questioned, you know, if things are cool the way they are, but if they smell like shit, they probably are.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, we have to refill these drinks and get some more ice. We're gonna take a quick break, but stay tuned. This shit's wild.
This is in no way a paid ad, but I would like to just thank the Fort Worth Weekly for helping us roll out this podcast. The launch has gone swimmingly, allowing me to co-host the Fort Worth Weekly Music Awards. Shout out to everybody involved with that, everybody over at the Weekly staff. And thank you to all the listeners for supporting your local rag. It's fun.
You are an old motherfucker.
just getting started too, baby. Just getting rolling. Just rolling it out.
That's it. Rolling it out. Hey, welcome back. I know that probably wasn't a long break for you, but we took a little break, and I feel like we've gotten to know each other quite well.
Yeah, we should have recorded the break.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. All right. So, you were talking about My America.
Yeah.
So tell me about what was the process on that, and what is it, and where is it?
Well, like I was saying, it came out of the idea of being a patriot and then thinking like, okay, I love my country, and considering myself well-traveled. And then I really kind of broke it down. And, you know, if you go to 30 states, that's a lot of states, but it's just a little bit over half of our entire country.
Yeah.
It's not the whole deal. And it's like...
And it's a blip of the entire world.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's a drop.
And it's really interesting, though, that the idea of seeing my own country through my own eyes and experiencing it was really appealing to me. And it was coming out of this political climate, which it seems like it's been relentless since I can remember, really. You know, like we think something's really bad, and then we look 20 years back, and, you know, my car was getting keyed back then too, for whatever differences, you know?
Yeah.
So it seems like they go in cycles, and, you know, we're ramping it up more and more every time, just like everything.
Yeah.
But
well, you know, that's put in place, man, is to keep us, that's what it is, keep us fighting over the breadcrumbs while they're stealing the entire cake. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean,
we're fighting over crumbs, and they're eating.
It's a brilliant design that's winning and probably always will win. You know, I mean, the name of this podcast is the 99%, right? Or that's the slogan, you know? Yeah. And it's kind of like,
and they're not even part of the 1%, a lot of them.
No. And then there's that other thing. It's like Malcolm Gladwell, or it's like that 70, you know, that average, or the 70% are based on numbers and everything. And there's some like interesting things about that too, which all were whirling around in my brain when I was kind of taking on this body of work. But I just got in my truck, man, and I made a list of things I wanted to achieve. And I was like, well, I'm going to see my own country. I'm going to load down my truck with all my gear and all my stuff and do a body of work about it. And so I had some ideas, maybe like 10 things I want to do, like every state line. I wanted to take a photograph, like the typical, like, you know, hey, in front of the state line, there's 50 photos, a lot of series of 50s. And I got Cafe Bustelo coffee cans and emptied them out and filled them up with dirt from every state in America. And they all look different.
That's
all
great.
the cans are one, kind of like a pop symbol, almost like Warhol or whatever, but it's like this bright, you know, package deal, and it's all the same on the outside and the inside. Every single state had its own tone. And part of this My America was the same kind of approach to where it's organic. It's like, man, I'm hitting the pavement on my own. I'm GPSing prisons and schools to photograph them, and it's taking me where no tourists would go. So I'm seeing the country through the eyes of the local. I'm seeing it in a way that no traveler typically sees it. Not to say that no one's done that, but but your average Joe,
I mean,
you know,
in this way,
might go to, you know, Ohio. They'll go to Cincinnati and see a ball game and do what they're going to do and
you
come
do
back.
the highlights.
So and I did that too. And so part of that body of work was like, it started off with a short list of things, and then it's instantly became like all the subjects of like politics, racism, religion. I mean, you can't drive through America and not be affected or feel that where you go.
Yeah.
And so you're making observations through your own lens. And I recommend everyone in America, if you can, go to every state in your country and check it out. It'll trip you out.
Utah tripped me out, dude.
Yeah, Utah's a weird one.
It is. I couldn't give it a drink at a bar without ordering chips and salsa because you have to have food with every drink that you order.
Well, Utah's a weird one, man. There's like those
crazy.
There's the Mormon vibe there that's strange. Like I did a show there at a gallery. I don't even think the gallery exists anymore. I can't remember what it was called, but I did a big solo show out there. And we were having a great weekend, and afterwards we went out and celebrated. We went to a couple bars, and man, it was weird. It was just weird. And we went into that massive church. Dude, I mean, I can't remember the numbers on that, but 60 Minutes just did an episode on that and the money behind it and how they've paid for all the malls and just all the crooked shit they're up to.
Yeah.
And their bank is like billions, plural, billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And they're using the religion, you know, tax kind of break and all this to do all kinds of corrupt things, you know, and
listen,
but
we can start a religion right
weird.
now.
The vibe was weird. I say never trust a church that doesn't have windows, man.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's
or anything.
Yeah. Exactly. So is that sort of like the My America,
like a prison or a school?
Like a prison or a school.
There you go.
They're both built the same way. We didn't have a fucking window in my high school.
They look the same. I literally saw a high school in Las Cruces, New Mexico that had no windows. And it had radio cameras, razor wire, and security guards with German Shepherds out front. And
that was a school?
A public high school. You would not believe some of the things I saw.
How was the prison?
Some of the prisons look like high schools. Dudes out playing basketball, like minimum security.
Yeah.
Lackadaisical. And then you have, so I wasn't gravitating to the old beautiful like architectural buildings, but I was fascinated by the architecture in general of like the newer construction to where it's like, you know, I mean, they just all, they're probably the same contracts. And I know for a fact that people that make schools, make hospitals, and make airports and make prisons, the same companies are making them.
Yeah.
So they have like this generic quality about them. But prisons and schools in particular, because of all our guns and all the violence and the shootings, and it's just insane. I mean, I don't know the facts, but I heard a thing just about this year alone in Texas, how many shootings have taken place. And it's
sad.
This year alone is like 1,000 times more than some countries in their history.
In their whole history.
Like England, for example, or Australia.
Yeah.
Or
France.
In a fraction of this year alone. In this state. Not just in our country.
Yeah.
So it's out of control. When I photographed high schools, it was sketchier than photographing a maximum security penitentiary because I'm a dude in a black truck with a trailer. I pull up.
Got all your stuff on you.
Yeah. And I'm taking pictures of the high school.
You're living in this truck.
Yeah, you know it's interesting, and here's a cool thing for all you travelers out there. I was trying to figure out how to budget this. Like, how do I go to 50 states and I do it like in 1 to 2 week increments and just go out on the road and hit it and come back from sun up to sundown. And I realized after the first trip that it cost me $1 per mile to stay in decent hotels, eat, not really keep track of my food. Some fast food, some restaurants, whatever.
Eat when you can.
Not crazy, nothing decadent, but every now and then celebrate. Every now and then, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
It's just like, hey, that's an easy way to budget it. You know?
I like that.
But the body of work was pretty intense, and I did thousands of photographs. Where I just kind of edited down and kind of enlarged, the one, printed up and framed the ones I wanted to use. And I rigged a motorcycle with video cameras, an Indian Chief, which I thought was as American as you can get in terms of like made in America and all that, which is that.
That's great.
And that piece in itself is a 50-minute video loop that basically 1 minute per state, 30 seconds of rural America and 30 seconds of inner city in each state. And so I have, it's like a video game, and I just drive through and kind of roll through it in every state, you know? And so.
As the camera, not as the player, right? Like as the passenger sort of thing.
Yeah. Just kind of like the idea that if you can't actually do it, you could sit in a video room for, less than an hour and go to all 50 states and see kind of what I was seeing,
Yeah. So, but you haven't gone to all 50 states, have you?
Oh, yeah.
You went to all 50 states?
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were just going to 30. I thought that's what you...
No, I was saying, like, at the beginning, I thought, well, I've probably been to, like, half,
Okay.
And that's a lot, but it's not everywhere.
So you went to all 50 states?
Yeah. And
Hawaii included?
Oh, yeah.
Alaska?
I flew to, and I had been to Alaska before, but the one thing I didn't do, though, which I should have done, was go to the territories, which I still would like to do, because it's just been getting no respect anyway. So I went to, like, the lower 48, then I went to Alaska, and then I went to Hawaii. And Alaska and Hawaii were the only two states that I didn't drive and trailer everything. So I flew there and I rented a motorcycle in both states, did the same projects, same things. That was the only interruption in that, which is, there's really no way I could have done, there's no way to avoid that because you got to go through Canada or you got to go over the oceans. But, and then I thought about Europe too, because I've been to every Western country in Europe when I was 19. I had my bike stolen when I was in college and I had this big chunk of change for my rentals insurance and I'm like, dude, should I put it all down or not? And I did. I put it all down. I got a Eurail pass and a backpack, and I went by myself, and I saw like 20 countries.
Holy shit.
And I was 19 years old. At
19?
Yeah, I was 19.
Dude.
I did it by myself, and it was like, it was crazy because I never paid to sleep, not one time. I did it on $900. $900 spending money.
Wow.
I had $2,000 and I bought a Eurail and I bought a round trip air ticket.
Whoa.
And then whatever I had left, I used to live off of.
Yeah.
And dude, it was
basics.
It was the coolest thing you could ever imagine doing because back then the Eurail passes were unlimited.
Yeah.
You could go to any country at any time as far as you want to go. And so it was during when the wall came down.
Yeah.
I saw the Monte Carlo Grand Prix. I slept in that little park in Monte Carlo.
Whoa.
And then I walked down. Somehow I end up on pit road at the Monte Carlo. I'm like, dude, I'm right here. How'd I get in?
I'm on the track.
And I don't know. I don't even remember how I got there, but I'm literally right there just going, all right, this is cool.
That's wild, bro.
And I hitchhiked, I did those things that really, you can't do as much now. You know? But, anyway, it's like.
Not as an American, that's for goddamn sure.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, too. You go to Europe, it's like the conversations you have with cab drivers, depending on who's in office. It's really interesting, the perceptions going on.
Man, I went to France, and so talking about the schools, right? This is what I was thinking about. I went to France with my ex-fiance. We got engaged in France, never got married. Okay, that's a whole other
France
story.
France will do that to you.
France will do that to you. But I mean, we had been together for a number of years, and I was like, okay, well. So I'm walking around France with this diamond in my pocket, and and I'm like, just on edge the whole time I was there. But the couple of things that I did notice was that the schools were all old castles.
Yeah,
like all of the schools in like this in like the outer edge town, like towns and
real
cities,
formal kind of like private Ivy League vibe or something, or not.
But these are just this is just the school in the town is this old castle, and it's just this this
remarkable, beautiful like piece of architecture,
beautiful architecture. And all the roads are made out of this, like, this stone that they pulled out of the earth, and it's just like this white stone. I'm like, what?
Man,
what happened?
Look, you go to Europe and you look at America. I know we build subdivisions, right? And by the time the first house, they build the first one, they break ground, they finish. By the time they're done with the last one, the first one's already buckling, man. And it's like, oh no, we're providing a service for like. No, bullshit. You're polluting. You have no regard. If you're going to do something, man, do it with passion, with care, with like, with love, with
regard for the human experience.
With regard, with the highest level for what it is you're doing.
Exactly.
I mean, it's amazing how the dollar is influencing and me, myself, and I mindset. And, like kids these days, they don't give a shit what they're famous for. They just want to be famous. Yeah. What is that all about?
It's so weird.
For being a loser, for being an idiot, for shooting people in a school or whatever. It's like, man, our bar has gotten lower.
Yeah.
And I've realized that going through America because I'll tell you what, we're a fourth world country.
Yeah.
There are listen to me. I'm not joking.
Come on.
I've driven through areas in America that were so effed up. I went through Detroit. Detroit is Michigan.
Rock City?
Motor City.
Yeah, sorry.
And the roads, Rock City.
You said Detroit, and I was trying to get it right.
I mean, I tried to watch Kiss.
Motor City.
Kiss was on tour. Kiss was like in a casino somewhere. No.
Yeah. They had that disco album, and it really fucked them up, dude.
No, I'm kidding.
Ted, Uncle Ted!
Casablanca. No,
shout out Ted Nugent.
Yeah, right. Trust me, he'll shout out. He'll shout out for us all. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But
shout it out. All right. Okay.
No, but the roads the worst roads in America that I drove on, the worst highways were in Detroit. We're in Michigan. Where cars, like the heyday of cars.
Yeah.
I mean, it was I was in shock. I'm driving my truck. There's literally it was treacherous on the highways in and out of Detroit. And I'm like, I can't believe that this is my country.
Yeah.
That's patriotism. I'm like, what in the hell is going on?
Yeah. Patriotism is not only
not what should be happening here.
Yeah.
And you look at the poverty and you look at the segregation and you look at just miles and miles. I drove through South Chicago in broad daylight and I was scared shitless. And I went to photograph the prison there. That was like, it's the scariest looking building I've ever seen. Yeah. And it's just all white and massive.
Huge.
Massive. Just horrible humanity. You know,
What did you feel at that moment?
it was just intense, man. The most upsetting thing was driving there and going from kind of on the outer edge of like this little hipster neighborhood that had recently been gentrified where I was staying with a fellow artist, Tony Fitzpatrick, who's one of the guys who I've shown his art, who also has a podcast in Chicago.
Shout out Tony Fitzpatrick. Let's have you on the
Pod.
pod.
He's a cool dude, man.
Yeah.
But it's like I drove from his house to the prison, and I was terrified in broad daylight. There was not a sign of any, like, it was an entire city within a city that had been left to decay and rot and fend for themselves.
Yeah.
There was no cop in their right frickin' mind is going to go in there.
Hell no.
That's how bad it was, a war zone.
Yeah.
I saw a version of this in every state. I saw it in Harlem. I saw it in Baltimore. I saw it in D.C. I saw it everywhere I went.
What about Texas?
You see it in Texas. You see it in, you know, literally I-35 divides upper class and lower class. You go down the corridor of I-35, the east side is all poor.
I didn't even.
The west side's all wealthy.
I didn't even think
Look at
about
it.
that.
In
I didn't
every
even
city.
think about that.
In every city. That's by design. That's segregation. I mean, this country is built on a lot of things.
Think about this. No, I'm with you on this. I just realized, like, East Austin used to be like, you didn't go there, dude. My brother lived there, like, you just didn't go there. Now it's
my
like,
studio was there 30 years ago. I know. Listen, there's
it's
neighborhoods
so wild,
like
though.
that everywhere in America, and we're still factually one of the, if not the wealthiest country in the world still. We have money. Those places don't. That's the difference. Yeah. And that's a really alarming, upsetting. And you look at just go down the list. Down the list of like how that 1% is just running the show. It's and when you drive through this country, you see it with your own eyes, you feel it. You know whatever side of the spectrum you're on, there is no way you can observe this country physically and drive through it in the way that I did and not be affected by it and acknowledge that there's a problem here. Yeah. There's a problem here. And like the idea of the body of work, My Americas kind of like taps into a lot of these things, but what's wrong with this picture series of the prisons and schools? Which
is also the name of your book.
Yeah, and that's just that body of work within that. You know, within My America is just, it's 50 photographs of prisons and 50 photographs of schools. So there's 100 photographs. They're side by side in each state, and they all look identical. Like you turn every page, you know. And then I present them upside down and behind prison glass, which is also cafeteria glass.
Yeah.
You know, there's razor wires. There's the same brick. I did a study photograph of like it's like a totem of, it looks like a chimney, like in an old field when the whole house falls down that's 200 years and the chimney's left.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, but it's alternated like prison brick, school brick, prison brick, school brick, prison brick. And so I want to build a sculpture that's like a totem to like, you know, of that kind of an architectural epitaph type of thing, you know?
Wow.
But it's like, so the windows, the architecture, the function, like they serve the same function but completely opposite in a way. One's designed to keep you in, one's designed to keep you out. Prisons keep you in, schools keep other people out.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's one system that feeds the other.
Yeah.
And I know there's high school, I mean, there's high schools in America. How's this happen in our country that aren't accredited? If a kid walks into school, gets straight A's and graduates, and even when he graduates with straight A's, they're like, sorry, this isn't a real high school. How in the hell does that happen in our country?
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And you know where it is? That's in poor neighborhoods. You know, I went to vote. I used to live in a rich side of town in Austin, and then I moved to where my studio was on East Austin. I went from west to east. When I voted in West Austin, there was like, it was at an Albertsons.
Yeah.
Right? All right. Yeah. And there were like 40 booths, like all pristine, all clean. And it was very civilized, organized. There were people handing out Starbucks to everyone in line. And it was very expedited. Then I went on the east side when I lived over there, which was my new voting district. And I saw as many, if not more people at lunchtime going to vote on their time off. And there were like 4 voting machines.
Yeah.
And more people were leaving
And where was it?
than were there. It was at a high school in East Austin. And it was designed that way. Yeah. It's designed that way. These people are responsible, but they're working. They can't afford to miss work. Hence the reason it's on Tuesday.
Yeah.
That was fabricated by the one,
Them.
So,
Yeah. They.
yeah. It's not a weekend thing. It's Tuesday.
Cue the helicopters.
But anyway.
Wow.
No.
That's powerful, man. I've been getting that feeling ever since you've been talking about this because and then we'll go back to Boston. We'll go back to Boston after this. But so you're talking about this patriotism thing, right? So all throughout high school, I was in like AP art classes, painting, drawing, doing all this my entire life. Now I'm a graphic designer. It's just kind of an echo of what I was before. But I did like printmaking, linoleum woodcuts, lithographs, like all that stuff. And one thing that for me was the most powerful was I was a sophomore in high school when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And after that, it kind of echoed through the art a little bit, and I was taking a look back and listening to a lot of punk rock. My brother is almost your age, and my oldest brother, he got me into punk rock, dude.
Yeah. And
so I was starting to like get that teen angst, and kind of rebel a little bit. And I did a painting, and it was a self-portrait, but it looked like me because I was drawing it from a mirror, but it looked like me like 10 years after that. So it was kind of like a projection of what I saw myself as. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But in the background, it was an American flag, but in the white stripes, it was something that I said. It was freedom. Having freedoms isn't being free. It's utilizing the freedom that we're allowed to achieve, or so. It was something like that. It's in my parents' closet back in the back in my hometown. But
the fact that you were actually exposed to that type of thing in high school is fantastic. Like I wasn't in Fresno.
Yeah.
Luckily I got that kind of thing on my own, but it sounds like that's almost like a college art kind of background because you had someone who cared enough about that to.
Yeah. Shout out Miss Hendricks, dude.
Yeah,
my high school art teacher was dope.
Dude, that's cool.
We were in an old school. It was an older school, all bricks, no windows, obviously. And in the back, there was a bus barn that had been converted into classrooms. So it was like the woodworking shop, and then right next to it was the art studio. So in those old bus barns, there was a back garage, and me and one of my best friends and artistic buddies back in the day. Brady Lovins, we got to as his senior art project and my junior art project. We collaborated on a mural on the back garage, and a couple years ago, I got a message saying that they were going to paint over it, and I was like, "That's great! It's in the yearbook, dude." Like
every great thing.
Yeah. But oh man, that's
you know what the irony with punk rock is, like that the rebellious type of thing, but that in a way, there was like anarchy or all these things. But if you talk to like the rudiments of where it was all coming from, it's like there's nothing more American than freedom of expression.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yeah.
And that scares the people up top.
Here's what's
Art
crazy.
is scared of the people, free thinkers, open-minded thinkers, creators,
Yeah.
artists, they're dangerous because they have a bigger fan base. They can influence more people.
Yeah.
And they don't.
And we're
give a
cool as shit, man. We're cooler than you are, motherfuckers.
But like, punk rock for me was just like this energy, and it was more like that. We were surf punks. It was more like it was fashion. I saw the movie Quadrophenia. I'm like, whoa! My dad would go to England and come back and bring me like zebra striped creepers, and I wear half my mom's clothes and put makeup on and have a mohawk.
Hell yeah,
and wear
dude.
earrings and like, hey, I'm here to pick up your daughter for prom. You know,
we're gonna be listening to
who is this devil worshiper, drug dealing, horrible human being?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just a little dipshit who drinks chocolate milk and just wants to go on a nice innocent dance.
Yeah, we're gonna go listen to the Cramps on the way there.
Yeah, bad music for bad people.
Hell yeah, bro. Yes.
Oh, I mean, we mentioned X earlier.
Yeah, my brother got me turned on to X like later. I'm ashamed to say this, later than I should have.
That's
been.
okay, as long it's better late than never.
Yeah.
Some things, But I saw X, I think, like 15 times, and again, they would go through Fresno, and of late, I've become good friends with John Doe because he moved to Austin, and his wife's a great artist, and she did a show with me, and John did another show with a guy named Michael Mogavero. They did a 2-person show. He did poems and wrote about his paintings, and they knew each other from high school. And it was really cool. Kind of, they went their own ways. One went to New York, one went to LA, but that was one of those bands and bands like that. And I had this incredibly cool childhood to where if I was sleeping in on the weekend, my brother and I shared a bedroom. My dad would literally, we would go to Tower Records together and like shop for records and come back and listen to them and open the front door and crank the speaker. The whole block could hear our house. That was our church on Sundays.
Hell yeah.
And it was like all the stuff we listened to on Saturday. But some days we would sleep in. My dad would go and throw records at us and like, get up. Like, we'd get hit in the head and be like Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. We're like, okay, dude.
All right.
We'd crank it out and be like, yeah.
Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
But I mean, my dad turned me on to a lot of incredible music. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And then I, of course, turned on to all my friends. And then I would meet people that were into certain things. And it was a really cool time for America. If you're a teenager of the 80s and a child of the 70s, man, just the creativity coming down those pipes, like the European influence and, every decade has a thing, but the 90s were kind of a lost identity and a hodgepodge of those two, or maybe 4 decades before.
Yeah. So talking about the flow, that ebb and flow, it's like the tides, it's like water, like just like the quote at the beginning of the show, right? So think about the 60s, right? They're listening to Delta Blues, and then the Beatles pop up, and they're like, this is what they're into. This is what they're listening to. And then Led Zeppelin and Rolling Stones, they're all...
Stones and the Kinks.
Yeah, the Kinks. Them?
Kinks been together longer than any band alive.
Oh, my God. I love the Kinks, dude.
They were there before the Stones and the Beatles.
Yeah.
They were in London doing their thing.
Absolutely. And so then what?
And they were more punk than all those
hell
bands.
Yeah, they were
punk rock.
Yeah.
But they had an edge about them that they fit in that genre.
Yeah.
When we were kids at dances and stuff, they were playing the Kinks.
Yeah. What about Sonics?
Playing Sonics.
Psycho, having a song called Psycho in the 60s, dude? Psycho!
I mean, and could you imagine a freaking world without music or art?
I don't want to live in that world.
I think there's certain politicians that would love a world without that. I mean, what do they listen to? Their own farts? I mean, I have no idea. I have no idea what they get off on, but...
I have no idea. It's got to be some weird shit, dude. What did you say? Mitch McConnell just
listen to Frog's Remedy.
Yeah, did you see the Mitch McConnell thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw that. All right, okay.
No, I'm not completely
But you missed the aliens.
Yeah,
you missed the aliens.
No, I heard about the aliens.
Okay.
I heard about the alien things. I think I'm one step ahead of that, man. I'm like,
So
where was I born? Well, the spacecraft landed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Where were you born?
I was born in L.A.
Okay.
1968. My mom and dad moved out there from Lubbock. So like
Hell yeah.
my upbringing, L.A. and then my folks moved to Berkeley, California when I was, maybe 1. My dad taught at Cal Art in the late 60s. At Berkeley, Cal Berkeley.
Quick shout out to Lubbock, home of Buddy Holly.
Yeah, that's right, man. Same
Fucking
high
love
school
Buddy
as my dad, and I painted the gym floor.
Yeah?
I painted the Plainsman, the Monterey High School Plainsman, was one of my summer jobs in Lubbock, man. And I did the Sudan Hornets or something like that, and the Monterey Plainsman. I literally was like, you're talking about murals earlier.
Yeah.
That's one of my gigs.
Hell yeah, dude. So, all right. We kind of got off on a tangent there.
Imagine that.
Yeah. This is
Can we do a retake? We're going to take 2.
fuck all that. No. This is one of the best podcasts that I've ever heard, and I'm a part of it. All right. We're bringing it back. So you show up to Boston.
Yeah. Oh, man.
With just the clothes on your back. Everything that you own has been lost. Your whole body of work is gone.
Yeah, and I show up day 1. My brother's there, so I'm moving in with my brother. I have that worked out. And I had already talked to one of my brother's college friends and lined up a job at the Marriott. So I had a job waiting for me. So none of my things got there, and I still hadn't applied to the school. I was like, I actually had enough confidence in myself to where I was like, and part of me just didn't give a shit either. There was like this recklessness, I was at that age where
Reckless
I was just
abandon.
Pretty much.
Punk rock.
It kind of was. It was desperation, but that's what it translates to in a way. But it's like through that, you make things happen. And I was talking about putting things in play. They either happen or they don't, but they never happen if you don't put them in play. Yeah. So I show up and none of my stuff is there. And I just got out a pencil and paper, man, and wrote a couple poems that I had memorized and wrote them a paragraph explaining what happened, a couple of performance things I had done, and why I wanted to be there. And that was it. And I took it down to the school. I literally here, man, I want to go to school here.
Yeah.
Who do I give this to?
Yeah. This has never been done before.
There was a lot of unprecedented things that happened while I was there in the 1 year and a half that I was there. And that was one of them. And I got a call when I was bussing tables at the Marriott, and they said, hey, man, we just want to let you know, based on the quality of your poetry, we've accepted you to the School of the Museum of Fine Art, but you have to take this class and this class, and you have to perform at a certain level, Yeah. And I'm like, done deal. And for the first time in my life, I was like, man, I felt like just my own personal journey, I got a really big break. And I'm like, I'm gonna make this one count. And I knew I was in my wheelhouse and my comfort zone because my whole life I had been creative and around that. And I saw the best artists in the world, frankly, in and out of my home. I've been to shows. I've been, museums, world-class galleries. And through osmosis, I had a confidence that, I just kind of decided I was absolutely full throttle going to kick ass, period. And so I took that opportunity and rolled with it. And just instantaneously, I was addicted. And I was surrounded by other contemporaries that were like-minded. I recommend art school for anyone who's on the fence thinking about it, just because when you're thrown into an environment where there's a lot of people that are your same age, that are your contemporaries, at the same kind of point and juncture in their lives, thinking about, what am I going to do with my life? But they're all creative and they're there for a reason. That energy is really good. Yeah. It's really
conducive.
It's conducive and it's nurturing and it's it's a safe zone. It's man, okay. In the real world, I couldn't do this shit. No. Here, I'm being rewarded for it. So it was this great place and an incubator.
Yeah.
And so when I was there, there was this thing called review board. And so you do a semester's work, and then you could request for a review board, and you could get a half semester credit or an entire semester's extra credit. So you get a whole extra semester credit if 10 people vote unanimously.
Right.
So I applied for this the first year. I first got a studio because there were only 30 in the campus, and knew that was like I had to have a place to work. So that was a necessity. So I was like hell-bent on getting a studio. I got a studio and made it count. And then anyway, long story short, every semester I was there, I got double credit.
Hell yeah.
So after a year and a half, I had 3 years credit. And then the last review board, I was denied. And they literally said, no one in the history of the school, which is the oldest art school in America, has ever done what you're doing. This we can't. And for me, it was monetary. It was like pride. It was like my brother had a full ride scholarship to Berkeley.
Yeah.
They didn't have a monetary scholarship, and I probably wouldn't have gotten one anyway. Who knows? But so I was borrowing money from my parents. I was just like, no, I'm gonna get through this as fast as I can.
Yeah. Working the system to get through.
Yeah, working the system.
Dude, I'm with you on that.
I was working the system.
Yeah.
But you know what? Within the rights and parameters of, hey, American way, you bust your ass off, you get rewarded. So it was that simple.
All right. All right. So the final question, I haven't really even asked any questions. This has been great, dude.
Oops.
It's okay. This is what it's about, man.
The Babylon session.
Dude, no, this has been amazing. The final question. All right. The first and final question. What's one piece of advice, unsolicited advice, that you would give our audience?
I think just don't sell yourself short. I think in that I mean believe in yourself to the point to where you literally you surround yourself with badasses.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with badasses, and that's kind of what you say about yourself and how you believe, how you view yourself. Yeah. Why would you want to surround yourself with mediocrity? You might be a novice filmmaker or a novice painter, but why would you want to learn from another novice? I've learned early, not to be afraid to ask for help from the best in the world.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm aspiring to be. If I'm not there yet, I want to hear from them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, surround yourself with greatness and with badasses, because that's going to kind of set you in the right direction.
This has been another fantastic episode of Great Unwashed, a podcast for the 99%. I would like to sincerely thank my guest, Bale Creek Allen. Check out the gallery. Check out all his stuff. Good night, Boston.
Good night, Boston.
For more information on today's podcast and other Great Unwashed content, visit greatunwashedpodcast.com and follow Ian at Ian Mac Presents.